After the shooting incident, Trump announced an important decision on social media. He nominated 39-year-old Senator James David Vance from Ohio as his vice presidential candidate for the 2024 U.S. presidential election. What outstanding qualities does this young senator possess to win Trump's favor and become a popular candidate for vice president? James David Vance is a graduate of Yale Law School, and this first-class educational background provides a solid foundation for his future career. However, Vance's accomplishments go far beyond that. Not only is he the author of the best-selling book Hillbilly Elegy, but he also personally scripted and produced the movie adaptation of the book. This memoir, with its profound insights and authentic emotional portrayal, has been well received worldwide and has become a phenomenal work. What kind of magic does Hillbilly Elegy have that can create such a resonance in the United States and even worldwide? Hillbilly Elegy was published in late 2016, when Vance was only 31 years old. This book in memoir form tells the story of Vance's upbringing in a decaying industrial town near the Appalachian Mountains. As this once thriving industrial town gradually declines, countless hillbillies like Vance faced the dilemma of unemployment, poverty, and social exclusion. Through his own story, Vance shows readers the living conditions and inner world of these lower-class people, triggering a broad social resonance. It is this simple and profound emotional expression that led to this book being on the New York Times bestseller list for 34 consecutive weeks and selling a total of 1.6 million copies. This book was at the top of the New York Times bestseller list for 34 consecutive weeks, with total sales of up to 1.6 million copies. Vance spent his childhood in a small town at the foot of the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachians were once the industrial heartland of America, but over time, the once glorious old industrial towns fell into oblivion, forming barren and decaying rust belts. The people in the city were mostly blue-collar workers who had migrated from rural areas in the 1940s and 1950s, and they referred to themselves as hillbillies, a label that also branded them as white trash. This was not only a mockery of their economic situation, but also a denigration of their social status. Vance's family is a microcosm of the myriad families. His mother is a nurse in the small town. Her emotional life is a mess. She changes partners frequently. His mother even developed a drug addiction and had extremely unstable mood. Vance spent his childhood in an environment full of conflict and violence. Once he had an argument with his mother over a small matter, and his mother actually drove recklessly on the main road and threatened to end their life together. It was only when the police arrived that the whole farce was finally cleared up. When his mother lost control, Vance's life became even more chaotic. He was introduced to marijuana at his stepfather's house and gradually developed an addiction. He began to become cynical, full of hostility and resentment towards everything around him. He hated his parents, this unjust world, and especially himself for being born into such a terrible environment. However, just as he was on the verge of despair, the appearance of his grandparents changed the course of his life. Vance was taken in by his grandparents, who helped him overcome his addiction and encouraged him to get back on his feet. They told Vance, "Life is a struggle, and while it may be harder for those living in the Rust Belt to succeed than others, it's not impossible. Using your environment as an excuse is the act of a coward." These words gave Vance new hope for life. After graduating from high school, Vance made a decision that would change his life forever. He joined the United States Marine Corps. Although life in the military camp was hard, it was a new liberation and rebirth for him. Here he was no longer the troubled youth who was abandoned by family and society, but a soldier who had to take responsibility and face challenges. Life in the military camp taught Vance perseverance and self-discipline, and above all he found self-confidence and dignity there. He realized that regardless of his background, it was possible to change his destiny with hard work. After 4 years in the military, he excelled and was admitted to Yale Law School, becoming a true member of the elite class. At that moment, he knew that he had completely freed himself from the constraints of the Rust Belt. The story of Vance is a tale of the intertwining of changing times and personal destiny. His grandfather, who went from being a poor farmer to a typical blue-collar worker, lived through the glory and decline of American industry. With the decline of heavy industry and the relocation of manufacturing, once prosperous areas turned into ghost towns, leaving behind not only dilapidated factories but also countless working-class families facing confusion and helplessness about the future. The solidification of the classes acts like an invisible wall, dividing society into two drastically different worlds. On one side is the educated elite, who have abundant resources and can easily escape hardship. On the other side are working-class people with a low level of education and few employment opportunities, for whom it is difficult to change the current situation. Entering Yale University was an important turning point in Vance's life, but also an identity crisis. At this elite academic institution, he was unable to fit in with his classmates. The feeling of inferiority that the original family brought with it always accompanied him. Although he received full financial support, this was not due to his excellence, but because he was the poorest student. This discrepancy in identity made it difficult for him to find a sense of belonging. Even after starting his own family, he could not completely get rid of the personality defects brought by his original family, such as emotional instability and irascibility. Vance's experiences powerfully illustrate the far-reaching effects of social class on individual identity, as well as the process by which people from different cultural backgrounds strive to find their own positioning. Hillbilly Elegy is not only an account of a personal fate, but also a profound reflection on the fundamental values of American society, the American dream. Traditionally, the American dream symbolizes the idealistic spirit of equal opportunity and success through hard work. However, Vance's story reveals a cruel reality. In today's increasingly class-bound society, very few people are able to realize the American dream, and most continue to live in poverty and struggle. Vance has become an exception through his own efforts, but his success has not changed his understanding of his origins, nor has it fully integrated him into mainstream society. This inevitably raises the question of whether the American dream is a universally accessible dream or merely the privilege of a fortunate few. The popularity and impact of this book undoubtedly offers us valuable perspectives and insights into understanding contemporary American society. Trump's nomination of Vance as the vice presidential candidate is undoubtedly a precise capture of the social resonance sparked by Hillbilly Elegy. Trump and his Republican team know well that the white working class is a key force for them to win the election. Vance's story aligns perfectly with these voters' dissatisfaction with the economic downturn, the threat of foreign immigrants, and social injustice. Vance not only adds a youthful and diverse color to Trump's campaign team, but also becomes an important bargaining chip for him to gain the support of the white underclass. Thank you for listening. That's all for today's book summary. Subscribe to our channel to obtain more book interpretations. See you next time.